Well, hello guys. I've been wanting to kind of go live and to just start to process the epic season that we're all in, and really to kind of help us to process it and help us to kind of self-coach ourselves and encourage others as to what's happening now. And so there's so much I want to say, but I just thought, well, what can I say today? What can I say to us today? What can I say to help us? And I think sometimes it's really helpful to share what we're processing ourselves, just to kind of help us all to understand our feelings. And since all of this coronavirus thing happened, I have to say me and Gerard, my husband, we've been processing it over the last few days, and there was kind of the first week when it sort of first came to the UK, and I think there was a lot of feelings of shock and disbelief, and I think a lot of people were in denial. I'm not really believing that this was anything hugely significant, that it wasn't going to affect us. And then very quickly, we kind of got to this kind of lockdown place where, well, slowly, things were closing up. And I don't know about you, but I know for us there was, and for many, there was a week of just frantic preparations, like many people having to convert to work from home, many people having to stop work. We were having to sort out all kinds of things, including finding places for someone to live who couldn't live with an elderly person. So there was a kind of a frantic part of preparations for how to prepare to be locked down. And then there's been this next period, of time of actually being locked down and experiencing life in a way that's so different. And I think we've all had to make such big adjustments, haven't we? And I mean, for us, to be honest, we have a home office. We do a lot of the work that we do from home. But I just really feel for so many people who are not used to working from home. I know that a lot of people are having to homeschool kids. So for some, I know it's a very busy time, and for others, they seem to have nothing to do at all because they're on furlough and they've got in a sense, a bit of a paid holiday, although it's not nice being locked down. And then, of course, there's people who have become sick, and there's people we know that have become sick. There's people that are really worried about family members, and obviously there's ourselves. We're worried about ourselves, and we don't want to get sick. So I just was likening really this whole journey of the last 3 weeks in one similar to when we maybe have a big trauma in life and when we maybe lose someone we love. There's these processes of grief. It's not exactly the same, but I just wanted to share with you how I personally, as a coach, have been dealing with this. First of all, there's the shock, isn't there? And we know from the stages of grief, and we know from what we're taught about how we deal with grief, that shock comes at the beginning, but it keeps coming up again and again and again. And there's denial, there's anger, there's acceptance, and there's a whole bunch of other stages as well. And really what the journey I've gone through with myself is that it's okay to be at any of those stages that you happen to be at any time, because this is really big, guys. This is something that is affecting the way we live our lives now, and probably it's going to affect the way we live our lives for a very long time. And the way we work, the way we do relationships, all of that for the short term is just so different, isn't it? So I think there's a lot of grief that we're having to process about things that we've maybe had to stop, the things we've maybe we're not sure are going to happen again. And I think it's hard. I think it's hard for us to know where to even start to process our feelings. I mean, that's how I've been feeling. I can liken this to another time in my life when I went through losing quite a lot of people in a short period of time, immediate family members. I lost my brother, I lost my dad, and in fact today would have been a big birthday for my brother, but he actually went to heaven 10 years ago. And when you go through a lot of change in a very short period of time, sometimes you can feel stuck. And I don't know whether anyone relates to this, but certainly for me, you can sort of feel stuck to not even know where to begin to process all of the emotions and what's actually happened, because it just feels so big, and it just feels hard to know how to even have the time if you've been busy, you've been one of those busy people. So I just thought it might be worth just basically acknowledging that, and maybe just bringing our coaching and our coaching with God kind of faith into this, and our method, so that we can first of all give ourselves permission to just be wherever we're at. You know, we might be feeling happy one minute, we might be feeling devastated the next minute. And the one thing I learned about going through a period of grief and losing a lot of loved ones in a short period of time was that it's actually okay to feel whatever you feel, whenever you feel it. And it's okay to have mixed emotions. It's okay to have a day where you just can't function, and to have another day where actually you feel quite normal. And not to get worried really about that, not to get confused about it. And the best thing of all, I think, is not to worry about trying to understand our feelings, because our feelings are just our feelings, and they're good because they give us an insight into our heart. And I feel that that's a really great place for us to then go to God and actually start taking Him what we are feeling. So one of the tensions that I've been feeling is this kind of tension between, as Christians, we want to believe that God can conquer coronavirus. I really believe He can. But what part do we play in it? And, you know, how do we step into authority as children of God, as sons, as daughters of God, to actually pray and to fight and to really take our place to bring healing of this virus and to get it to leave the world. But then there's also the tension of not wanting to deny it's there, and actually, you know, walking with people and being able to be compassionate and having faith, but also walking with people and in the reality of what is. I don't have answers for this. I'm just saying these are real things. These are a real mix and a real hodgepodge of emotions that we might be feeling as Christians in this space with coronavirus. I know God has the answers. I know He has a plan. I know that He will get us through this, and I know that a lot of good things are going to come from it. And a lot of people are saying that, and I think one of the things we can do is obviously to tap into that and to make sure that we keep our faith and our hope up. But for me, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I keep my faith and hope up and remember the promises of God. You know, read the promises He's given me. Remember that He is good, reading the Psalms that are relevant, but also I want to watch the news because I want to stay in touch with the reality of what's happening, and also to stay in touch with the reality of what people are feeling. Because one of the things about being in lockdown and being in our own homes is we're a little bit cut off from what's happening with the coronavirus, unless it's affected us directly, which I'm sure it has affected a lot of us directly as well. Then it becomes very real, right? So what helps you to process? You know, we're all different. We all have different ways of processing. And, you know, I've recently, last summer, I joined Slimming World, and I wanted to get healthy and lose some weight. And, you know, each and every person within the Slimming Club, we all are susceptible to eat emotionally. And I think, you know, everyone's got their things, haven't they, that they do that are unhealthy to kind of not process the feelings of what's going on. And for you, it could be like you eat emotionally. I must say, I've had a lot of chocolate in the last couple of weeks. I'm hoping to stop that soon. But the question is what can you do personally to process your emotions? What's going to work for you? You know, are you someone that's more introvert, and it would help you, like myself? I journal all the time. I write things down. I can be so honest in my journal. I can write down anything I want. It doesn't have to be super good, it doesn't have to be bad, it just is what it is. And for me, my journal is a place where I can just be. For others, you're an external processor. I mean, I'm that too. And sometimes we need to find people that we can just say, look, can we just talk about how we feel about this and just process our emotions? And that's healthy. We need that. We need that at this time, because we need to understand how to get our heads and our hearts around this time, which is so big. So what helps you to process? Is it that you need that alone time, or do you need the time with people, or do you need both? And how do you know when you've processed enough? And I would say, let's be kind to ourselves. Let's make sure that we give each other permission to just process where we're at. And I'm heading up a whole coaching community, and one of the things we do as coaches is we give permission for our coachees, for the people we're coaching, to just be whatever they're being, and to express themselves. Well, we all need that, don't we? We all need that space to just be where we're at, and to have people around us, and to have places where we can just express it and be it. And what I wanted to say about that is what helps you to process, what helps you to feel those feelings. So obviously, if we turn to emotional eating, which I know I'm susceptible to, that's not going to work out so good, is it? At the end of all of this, we'll all end up in Slimming World or whatever it is. And there's other unhealthy things as well that we do, isn't there, to avoid feeling our feelings. So let's just be mindful of that. Let's just figure out what we're feeling, how we can process those feelings, and how we can just own them, but not condemn ourselves for feeling whatever we feel. Once we've done that, once we've processed those, that's when we're really working out that scripture. I love this scripture that it says, guard your hearts, for your hearts are the wellspring of life. And in a sense, I feel like one of the ways we can guard our hearts in this season is to work out how to process what we're feeling, process our feelings in a healthy way. And then once we've done that, for me, once I've got my feelings out on my journal, then going to God with those feelings is one of the most beautiful, intimate places we can have relationship with Him. It's like we're making our own psalm, really. Like if you read the Psalms that David wrote, they're so emotional. They go through, sometimes you read one psalm and it goes through maybe 20 different emotions. And, David is really honest and raw and authentic with God. He just tells God how he feels. And that's what I think is going to help us in this season, is being able to do that with God and also with each other, is just being real about how we feel and not judging each other, and knowing that God doesn't judge us either. He is a safe place, just as those special people in our lives are a safe place that we can talk about our feelings and know that they're not going to preach at us, they're not going to judge us. They're going to just let us process our feelings, get them out. It's when we actually know how we feel and we get those feelings out that we can then progress on to the next stage. And that's when our faith builds up. That's when we can receive from God, and He comes in like a flood, and He actually ministers to us, and He comforts us because we are being authentic and we're being raw with Him. We're telling Him how we feel. And we then know what we need. We can then prayerfully talk to Him about what we need from Him. And I just wanted to share that really as the first Facebook Live that we're starting on this whole epic season that we're in, is just to be kind to ourselves, figure out what we're feeling and process our feelings in a healthy way. So figuring that out for yourself, I mean, it'd be really great if you've got ideas, post them underneath this video. We can all work together, we can all support each other to understand what works for one person. And if you're someone that finds this difficult, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not someone that, I'm an optimist. I'm not good at dealing with negative things, with negative feelings. So I know it's really important for me to take the time to process feelings. That's what gives me strength, because I can process them, I can connect with God, and I can move on, and I can move into faith and deal with them. If we don't process the feelings in our heart, if we let them fester and we suppress them, that's what turns into depression, that's what turns into anxiety, that's what turns into fear. So it's better out than in, and it's a good season for us to learn how to look after our emotional health and know what we need as individuals. And I was chatting to someone today, and he said this is like our kindergarten of working out how to deal with crises. And I know it was a good thing to say, and I'm not belittling what's happening at all, and I know he wasn't. But in a sense, we have time in our homes, we have time in lockdown to work out how we deal with crisis. And this is just one aspect of it, is dealing with our feelings, dealing with our emotional health. I hope you found that helpful, guys. I'm just going to process what's happening with me with you like this live, and post some ideas on how you figure out how to process your feelings in this season, and let's support each other and help each other in this. Bless you.